And salutations, Jen here. I still can't hear out of my one ear, so forgive me if I get too loud. It can happen. And please forgive the background noise. I've got my sidekicks here, Samson and little girl. They're eating their their morning bribery to be still for a few moments. So yeah, I'm not a YouTube star. I'm not a celebrity. Yada yada. The disclaimers are in the description box. Now, what you're looking at, what I gave you to look at while I do a little story time here, is an app called Stellarium. This isn't really what it looks like where I live, but the sky is. They say that the constellations are exact, that they're pretty close to being in real time. And you can go back, you don't have to be in real time. But I thought this was really cool, so y'all could see what's going on during this eclipse, this twice in a lifetime event for us. There's the Draco. And then it doesn't come back around for a long, long time. Ursa Major. So I just wanted to show you. I thought it was a really cool app. It's called Stellarium. Cassiopeia. We've done a lot of talks on her on the original channel. Now, because this is the backup channel, these stories might be familiar to you, but not in this context, not put all together. Oh, shoot, and I forgot one. I knew I was going to forget one. And to show you, again, my homework and the reason that I am thinking the way I'm thinking and what kind of got me there in my mind. And to showcase, it's not just regular people like me going crazy, as some people would like to call it. Unfortunately, I wish that's what it was. I wish it was that simple. And I'm not a doctor, and this is not medical advice, but we've done research on the channel going to allegedly credible and reliable websites like the CDC, and there are no blood tests or chemical, physiological, biological, scientific, repeatable tests for those alleged diseases. And again, we've seen them make up capybara syndrome since all this started, and now the demon syndrome, which I can't even pronounce, so I'm not going to try right now. Comments will be turned on when the video comes. Oh, wow. Cygnus. I've never really looked at that one. It's a swan. How cool. And there's our Cassiopeia. Cepheus, who I believe is her father. Cepheus. Okay, so back to the beginning. I did forget to grab one story. I will get that before I look. But my life changed radically and when I went to Florida in 2018. But there were things leading up to that happened. And God kind of called me back in a radical way. I've always talked to God, but in 2017, 2018, I was able to, quote unquote, hear him talking back, not loudly and audibly with a voice outside of myself, but into my heart in times of meditation and in the form of dreams, which I now believe to be actual encounters. So we are said that it is called satanic panic and that there is no such thing, and that the hand signs and all these things are coincidences and they mean something else than they mean. Like we're seeing the peace sign everywhere, which means victory at this time, war, and it also means that somebody swings both ways on their sensual preferences. And yes, there are preferences. MIT, Stanford, and Harvard did a collective study. There is, again, no biological, physiological evidence that anyone is born with anything like that. But we are born with original sin, which can cause us to do things sometimes that are even against our own better judgment. And so I want to talk about that a little bit. So 2017, 2018, May is when I went to Florida. And around that same time, there were other things going on down there. While I was down there, I didn't know this at the time, but the water had turned red, and there was one of those CERN spirals in the sky. So we're going to look at a few things back to the beginning. It's going to be quick. This is not going to take long at all. But I just want you to see how strange Florida is and what's kind of going on, okay? And what led up to the things like where we're at now and why my channel is the way it is. This is originally the backup channel. If you missed the whole testimony, I apologize for that. I'm sorry for that. It is what it is. But I do have 2 featured videos up. It is an ongoing testimony. And I was told to speak on it after the last eclipse and to talk about things and shown certain things, and so I've been doing that. So this is a guy from a whole different paradigm. He is in the death metal industry. I know this because my spouse listens to them predominantly, exclusively. That's it. We are like oil and water, fire and ice. We are complete opposites of each other. So this man is called Pat O'Brien. When the people inside asked him to leave, he shouted, "The rapture is coming." Now, again, this is a death metal artist, but they do write about fallen angels. They also write about, like, serial, people who end others' lives on a regular basis. But they don't usually encourage it. So it is, I mean, there are morals in some of their music, and some of them have actually been to Juilliard, so they understand the mathematics involved in with music and the octaves and keys, and all of this language is also used in the Bible. So the rapture is coming. He subsequently pushed a woman to the ground and ran to the backyard, with neighbors calling 911 and finding O'Brien hiding behind a fence. After the police asked him to surrender, he charged at them with a knife. This was at the end of 2018. I had just went to Florida that summer, at like May. So he's a guitarist. He warned of the rapture and aliens before he had his breakdown. He also had a mostly legal makeshift armory of weapons. The links will be, source links will be in the description at the end of the video. Before Cannibal Corpse guitarist Pat O'Brien suffered from an apparent break from reality. I love how they just label people. And you got to see now this pattern, this framework they're setting up. And you can say, sure, these people are crazy. These people have had mental breakdowns. But now we're looking at a whole lot of people from a whole lot of different walks of life who are having very similar experiences and being woke up in radical ways. This is very close to my own waking up, and it's very shocking. My concern is that if a bunch of people are woken up at the same time and they start to see what's actually around them, we know that people in great masses and big mobs can be unpredictable at best. And I'm not promoting fear. Let me get to that real quick. There is no promotion of fear here. When you have knowledge about what's coming, you can be empowered. These people know that knowledge is their main thing. That's what Lucifer pushes, right? I can give you the secrets of the universe if only you do this for me. If only. And it never happens. And the promises never come to pass. And those people usually end up going insane eventually down the road. So here we go. Real quickly, he discovered an alleged break from reality. He warned his relatives of the rapture and that the aliens had landed. According to the Tampa Bay Times, he's been with them since '97. He once played in Slayer for a spell. Look at the words they use. Was arrested last Monday for burglary and assaulting police in his home as his home burnt down in Florida. I'm curious about that fire, too. After putting out the flames, fire marshals discovered a makeshift armory in his rubble. Hold, please. I gotta turn the do not disturb on. There we go. And if you understand how I'm tying things together, I would appreciate likes on the videos. Nobody's really commenting anymore either, so it is disappointing, but it is what it is. At least people are watching and understanding that people are trying to warn them about things. And again, it's not to promote or peddle fear. It is so that you can be empowered and just be cautious of your surroundings and walk in awareness. I had lost almost total awareness, self-awareness of how I looked from the outside, and I had lost control of my free will. And so this is why I do that. And I didn't even realize it. It happens so slowly. And you compromise your values and beliefs so slowly at first that you fall into this trap without even realizing you're in it, like a pot boiling in water or Bugs Bunny in the witch's cauldron. So he had 50 shotguns, including one that was illegally sawed off. Let's yada yada. So we go from 50, 10, 20, 5, 1, 2. I don't notice any gematria there, but let's keep going. No one was hurt. Despite this, authorities still found thousands of rounds, blah, blah, blah. So he was a person who took advantage of the amendments and Allegedly, most of them were illegal. The guitarist's arrest reported detailed the night's events. Just before 7 p.m., he broke into his neighbor's home. Now, I would think he's running in fear or panic, especially, again, I remember being woke up by God and seeing the black eyes and the whole bit, and it was just wild. When the people inside asked him to leave, he shouted, "The rapture is coming." He subsequently pushed a woman to the ground and ran to the backyard with neighbors calling 911. After police asked him to surrender, he charged at them with a knife. They subdued him with a taser. They noticed his house was on fire. They noticed, which is a good way to hide things too, especially if you've been like gaslighting somebody. Watch the way these stories start. They always begin sounding like a targeted individual. And I'm a big proponent of saying that is spiritually and diabolically led. And we're going to get to that in a minute because I was unaware, but I saw on a person's page, and I will refer you to that channel, but I just saw a post that today or yesterday and today are also the anniversary of something for the occult, and we'll get to that in a moment as well. So basically, this guy, this big dude from the death metal industry paradigm, also believed that something was happening in 2018, also in Florida. Florida is a strange place, and I want to go back again even a little bit further to show you something. We're going to look at all this. Just hang on. Oh, gosh, I hate ads. I'm sorry. Are you going to make me look at this? Yes, they are. You goobers. Alright, I'm going to have to look this one up. Oh, shoot. What was it? Hold, please. I'll grab. Sorry about that. They want to charge me or have me sub just to pull up that link. Okay, so this is also in Florida. But this was... Oh, no, that ain't the right one. Mysterious liquid chemical agent. Oh, no, I don't even want to know what that's about. Hold, please. I'm getting there. No. Hold, please. I don't remember his name. I think it's Huff or Hauf. There it is. Sacramento Bee. Which one is better to read? Let's start here. Okay. So I remembered this too, and ironically it was in Florida, so I wanted to link that to this video. Yeah, so this is wild. Now, this is another young man at 19 who started acting weird. His YouTube channel is still up. You can kind of watch his evolution. He was just a regular kid. He starts out wanting to talk about health. Now, again, it has a lot in common with Everyman Hybrid from Slender Man, the alleged quote-unquote story that I referred you guys to, talking about, hey, this stuff is happening to a lot of us, and is it because we watch it? Is it because we talk about it? Or is there something happening in the world at this time? And I believe it's the time of the AC, and we are seeing even laws of physics be broken, aka the lawless one. Biden never puts through an actual law. He just uses executive orders, and right now there doesn't seem to be any law. So again, there are 3 interpretations usually of each verse if you dig a little deeper. So this is wild. A Miami teen accused of a gruesome attack on a couple in their home was found gnawing the flesh from a dead man's face. He held on to his last bite until he got to the hospital. Then he, spit it out. Cops knew they were arriving at a violent scene. They received reports of a woman attacked and a witness stabbed at a Tequesta home, but they didn't expect this, a crazed young man atop another person. But hang on. Watch how this started. He was telling them he was broken up about what he did. He said that he deserved to be punished, obviously, to be ended. And they allegedly found him gnawing off the guy's face. Now, he doesn't remember all of this. I think that's key, too. For weeks before this happened, he was telling his parents that he would protect them. He was not sleeping. He was walking around literally being a guard all night while they slept. For whatever reason, nobody was actually sleeping in their own rooms. The house looked a little disheveled, but the parents never really talk about it. They do show CCTV from a video where they went out to dinner. He talks about people following him and asking his dad why he won't believe him, and he storms out of the restaurant. So it begins very, very much like a targeted individual story. And some people will point to mental dis-ease. I stated my claim, my opinion of that earlier. I think there's a whole lot of gaslighting on when you see all these brand new alleged dis-eases being published about or publicized and pushed. You have to ask yourself, why are they doing this? And it's called damage control. You have to start to understand marketing, advertising, the media. With most people, it's about money. With the other people, it's about power. Some don't want to lose what they already have. And some, of course, are backed in the corners wanting to protect their family. So help me, I ate something bad. What did you eat? And he says, humans. So let's see if they talk about it. Basically, he runs down the street with a corkscrew and a pair of blue-handled scissors. But here's what he said. He said that they were witches, that they were spying on him. His prolonged sedation was because he drank some sort of chemical, perhaps found in the garage, that burned his throat and stomach. They found an iced tea bottle with blue liquid inside the garage, but it's not clear what it was. Now, this story went away. They've got him locked up, and you don't hear anything about it anymore. His mother called 911 to report her son missing, told the operator her son started saying delusional things about being immortal and a superhero. And again, they will publicize the worst and most radical parts of these stories so that people go, oh my gosh, this is crazy, and they dismiss every part of that story then, right? People stop listening when they think that a person has, issues with their brain, when they think they are, aka allegedly supposedly crazy. And they know this. They know that the second they call someone crazy, everyone else will stop listening. But people are catching on to that now, and it's a very low-level way to do battle. It's very immature. It's very low intelligence, and it's just not... It's not how I would do business, but that's me. He was not on any common street drugs, okay? Again, he started his videos about working out, getting proper sleep. Then he started talking about dreams, all the stuff most of us go through or have gone through in the last several years with all of this stuff going on. Now, they're saying this attack was cannibalistic. I find it ironic that then a member of Cannibal Corpse freaked out and started talking about the rapture, someone who allegedly isn't religious. Now, this young man was on Dr. Phil. He had symptoms for about 2 weeks prior. They just thought he would snap out of it. We talked about the 4-hour walk in the woods they took on the morning of the attack and how Austin was worried about an evil presence. And look, they were in the woods beforehand. Whatever's going on, something is attaching to people, and it's happening like in the forest, in the woods, camping, at national parks. Some people go missing. So these are actual facts. This is not just crazy superstition we're talking about. These are things that occurred. Okay, now they're talking about what he ate, and again, a lot of these kids who are doing deadlifting and stuff, they actually eat olive oil, and I've seen my son eat some strange things. Anyways, if you want to know more about this store, we can get into it, or I will leave the links, but basically I gave you the summary of it. He started going through some kind of what they think is a breakdown. He began showing no real interest in certain things. He started talking about lucid dreams on his channel. I did go and watch that because, again, I don't want somebody else framing a story for me. I want to perceive it how I perceive it and go from there, right? I don't want anything set up for me. I want to see how my own discernment is working and if it's operating properly. Lay down, Samson. It's like he Googled how to come up with a psychiatric defense. Oh, gosh. There we go. So anyways, yeah, we can include that if you like, but Florida is a strange place, and these stories keep showing up from there. So the next thing that we're going to look at real quick, there he is. Face-eating suspect says he fled demon-like figure. He calls the demon Daniel. He actually gave it a name, and that's what he was running from. Now, he went to Florida State University. He's very remorseful about what happened. He just wants to get better, but he actually thought he was going to be let out. Now, something else that's happening. Cicadas. Did I say that right? Cicadas are emerging. Now, this is weird. So, 13-year brood XIX, which would actually work out to 19, and XIII, which would be 13. But for whatever reason, they're labeling them the opposite, and one is 2 years off. So, I don't know. That's really not proper for Roman numerals, so I don't know why they're doing that. So brood 13 and brood 19, 17, whatever. These two broods are adjacent but not significantly overlapping, but they are where? Central Illinois. I wonder if they're over Carbondale, the place where I predicted if there was any kind of shaking, it would be there because of the high rate of baby-ending sacrifices that are happening there. And again, I have experience with that, and I know the damage that it can cause. I am not insensitive to the woman's plight at all. I don't believe anyone else should have control over the woman's body. However, that is not just the woman's body. That's a whole different issue, and there is another parent involved, and I think what life should be, we should look at it with sanctity again, and our children with, they're not accessories, right? They're not accessories to go with a purse or a dog. And a dog is not an accessory. We've become caricatures, and I think social media plays a big part in that. And I think cameras watching us all the time, if you watch those Slenderman stories and some of these TI stories, they get to feeling like there's a presence around them. And again, in the ghost hunting stories, for example, people are very sensitive to magnetic and EMF waves, and some of these electronics put off high EMFs, and that can make the hair on your neck go up. It can cause physiological reactions in a physical human being. So, again, I'm just bringing you the information. What you decide to do with it at this point is up to you. I'm not a promoter of fear. I believe in removing the fear, and I think the only thing we should fear is the one who made us. I have very short patience compared to, obviously, the Most High. I look around and I'm like, I don't know why it's gotten so far out of hand. Let people live, let them do what they're going to do. I don't want to get involved. I don't want to interfere. I don't want to offend them. But now we have whole generations growing up seeing things of a sensual nature being talked about all the time, and people are equating their identity in this sensual label, and it's backwards. And so that is part of the judgment we're seeing, is that people don't have their proper senses, and you can start to see the demarcation in people who are lost. And even myself, I'm just now starting to get to know myself again and my identity in God, in Christ. And it takes a long time sometimes for some of us because we have transgressed or went against natural law so much. And that's something I think most of us can agree on, is natural law, because it's obvious in nature, and that's science to me. So generally, a 13-year brood emerges in the same year as a 17-year brood, roughly every 5 to 6 years. A co-emergence involving adjacent broods of different life cycles is something that happens only every 25 years. Any two specific broods of different life cycles co-emerge only every 221 years. So again, a once-in-a-lifetime event. Dealing with cicadas, there is a map that shows you where they will be. I'm actually out of the range of that. I'm not in totality. I'm right outside of it. So are these things going to fly? They say that there's no chance of them mating, but they're in different states, kind of all through the south and in the middle of the country. But they're just going to chill. They're not going to fly away. So I don't know, but I don't want to spend too much time on, my opinion. It says, in the end days, Locusts having the teeth of lions and the hair of men and women will emerge and be allowed to torment for 5 months upon the earth. I take that to mean as several different things too. One, it could be drones. People fly drones. People have the hair, obviously, of men and women. Because when I get a visual of that, I'm thinking of like technology. So I'm thinking kind of like drones or something that's like a helicopter but smaller. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but then we have this happening. So yeah, guys, I mean, people want to keep saying, oh, you're all crazy and gaslighting everybody. We're just saying be careful. We're just saying if you have any unfinished business, it might be a good idea to tend to it, because this country is going to receive a shakeup, and it might not be physical. It might be in the apocalyptic governmental way, because apocalypse just means revealing, and I think our government has been being dismantled in the back end for a long time now, and this is why we're seeing some of the things we're seeing. So here's the anniversary. It is the anniversary of the Book of Law, which Crowley brought to us. Now, I do believe there is some wisdom to be had from the Egyptians. They are the fallen ones. I would not pick a fight with them, but I don't want to worship them either, right? But I do know that they know more than us. So I'm going to have that respect for nature, for the hierarchy, and not particularly dabble in things that I shouldn't. But at the same time, I understand that they do know some of what they're talking about. So if we were to ignore this just because it's of an occult nature, we're not understanding how the enemy operates. And you're even less aware consciously of what's happening in the world. We have to be shaken up to get out of our, what would you call it, automaton, our robotic-like behavior, right? Kind of like autopilot. And we know we live through days like this. Some people say they don't even remember driving to work in the morning because it's become such a routine. Routine is not a bad thing. There's nothing wrong. We should have discipline. But when it becomes to the point where you are compromising every day, all day, so that you can have that job or have that money or have that car or have that house, you become more and more blind over time. I know this because I was this. I know this because I'm still coming out of that. So I'm not judging. So this is the Book of Law, central sacred text of Thelema. Aleister Crowley said it was dictated to him by a beyond human being who called himself Iwas. Rose Edith Kelly, Crowley's wife, wrote 2 phrases in the manuscript. The 3 chapters of the book are spoken by the deities Nuit, Harit, Ra, Huarkuit. If I butchered those, I apologize. So it's the Book of the Law. In Egypt, the publication date was 1909. The book contains 3 chapters, each of which was alleged to be written down in 1 hour, beginning at noon on April 8th, 9th, and 10th in Cairo, Egypt, in the year 1904. So this is the 20th anniversary of Crowley's Book of the Law being put out. He said Iwas, whom he later referred to as his personal holy guardian angel. Now, the public points at him and says, evil, satanic, devil worshiper. We know in the end times, evil is called for good and good is called for evil. So I'm not judging per se, but I want to know what is out there and what people are dabbling in, because it does affect everyone. We think it doesn't. We think it's our own lives. We think we want the freedom to do what we want, but doing what we want is not always doing what we ought. That was a quote by one of the popes, and then also Jim Caviezel. We should do and make the choice to do what is right. We should use our freedom to do that, because when we don't, we get shackled down and bogged down in sin, and we become blind to very obvious things around us. I know this. I'm seeing it happen worse in the people around me. It is, I don't know if it's an act or what's going on, but the memory and even basics, right? And I don't want to get too deep into this. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but even basics of human care are seemingly going out the window. And it brings to mind a verse as well, and I might actually end with that verse. But here we see that the book is often referred to simply as Liber Al, Legis, I think that's a hard G, Liber Legis, or just Al. They're technically though technically the latter two refer only to the manuscript. So there we have, look at that. The steel of revealing, and revealing again, revelation, apocalypse. Apocalypse means revealing. It doesn't mean war. Now, Armageddon and Gog and Magog, yes, those do. It says Bulak 666. Nuit Hadid as the winged solar disk. Ra-Horaquit seated on his throne, and the steel's owner, Ankh Af Na Kansu. Okay? But Bulak 666, the steel of the revealing, is a painted wooden offering steel located in Cairo, Egypt. It was discovered in 1858. Now we know that this eclipse is also going over a city called Cairo, just to put that out there as well. So there's even more things that are happening. Quickly, if I can go to that verse. Now, I talked about this in a video, in a funny video. As a healthcare worker, I know what this word means now. We did a study on it, so we did go deeper with it, but in the last days, perilous times will press near, and men will be lovers of themselves, selfies, social media, showing off the body that everybody's getting from working out, whatever. Greedy, working for the money. I can't stay home today. I can't work on my marriage today. I can't be with my child today. I've got to have money. Because we could do without some of these things. Every family doesn't have to have 2 cars. But again, you can't force people to live in a certain way. And that's kind of what's causing this. We need to have a basic, again, of what we agree upon as a community, as a society. This is why I think we should have further spread out, smaller communities again, and we should take some real lessons from the Native American Indians, and learn basic skills. Most people today don't know basic skills. They think the world is overpopulated, when all you have to do is go to a state park and you can see very clearly that there is no overpopulation happening. If it was, the first thing they should get rid of then would be golf courses and cemeteries. Cemeteries is a whole nother rabbit hole we'll get into later on if there's time on another video. Self-exalting, so promoting themselves, and much like the golden calf that Moses found them worshiping again when he came down off the mountain, that is much like you see with Grammy Awards. Emmy is the little golden statue, the MTV Awards, that's held in a Masonic hall. Self-exalting, arrogant, blasphemers, OMG, I used to say that all the time, and now, it's really pressed on my heart, obviously, not to say that. I thought it was funny. I grew up in a valley. It was a valley girl thing, even in the 80s. Obviously, I'm very wrong, so I don't do that anymore. Disobedient to parents. We know that most of us have been rebellious in Generation X, and it's only gotten worse since, and I'm a mother, so I know that. Ungrateful, we know this. Wicked, we know this. Without affection. It actually says with unnatural affection, meaning it goes against nature. You are breaking natural laws if you are committing a certain act without being open to life, and in fact, being against life. Instead of promoting life, you're actually promoting death by the sensual acts that you are doing. And I'm just being real. I have no right to preach. I was there too. But I do have a right to say I understand what it does to a person and the damage it does to you and the people around you. Without kindness, we see it every day. Traitorous. I've told you, at least one member of every family just about has been sold out. It's just a fact at this point. Loving pleasure more than God, obviously, even having the appearance of piety while rejecting its virtue. Most of these people will point to us as being fallen sinners, while they themselves were the ones who pushed us into the pit. And we are the ones who did love God and do love God now, and were lost for a time because we were negatively influenced. Now I take accountability for the things that I have done, but a lot of the things I'd done I would not have done had I had a proper partner watching over me the way they're supposed to. We are to watch over the ones we love. If your neighbor is being harmed, you say, oh, well, it's not my business. Actually, it is your business, because you could have helped and you could have done something, possibly prevented a death. We really have to stop preserving self so much, right? When you do that, you end up this world is very big on resistance and the law of reversal, and the more you kind of strive for a thing, sometimes the more it will evade you. Seeking is different than striving. Totally different. Anyways, even having the appearance of virtue and piety while rejecting its nature. We have a lot of this in like the Pentecostal movements, people saying God doesn't do miracles anymore. There is no such thing. There's a miracle every day when the sun rises. It also says, hold please. I want to see. Without self-control, okay, which means incontinent, but real quick. Having no voluntary control over bodily functions, lacking self-restraint. Most people are being led purely by their desires, their wants, their wishes at this time. They don't care what anyone else wants. The spirit behind the rainbow hijackers is very violent. Sodom was punished for sodomy because it is an act of violence against oneself and another. It is not from love, okay? That is not a loving act. But you see that people are going to begin to lose control. Why would such a thing happen? I told you things are being manifested physically very strangely. This has been very big for a while. Why is our society distracted and obsessed with this? Ask yourself that, because it's not normal. Maybe if we were a society of 5- and 6-year-olds, but this fascination, it in itself is an abomination. There's something very wrong with people, and if you want to call me a fearmonger or whatever, that's your business. But I'm just doing what I was asked to do because I love people. I love you guys. I love my children. I love my family. And it's heartbreaking every day to see, to be deceived, to be lied to, and to see a degradation in people who really were once so bright and had so much life inside of them. So I'm going to end that there. I hope you have a blessed day. I hope that you're aware of your surroundings. I hope that people gathering again is a good thing and everybody is kind to each other and compassionate to each other. Please remember that we are all neighbors. We should be loving our neighbors and be respectful of other people's property as well. If you have to park or walk through somebody's yard or anything like that, I have familiarity with that from living in the country now, or used to. If you're walking through grass and whatnot, be respectful, right? Don't leave your garbage laying behind. Throw things away. If you see trash laying around, pick it up. Let's not make fools of ourselves so that the National Guard has to step in, right? Right? Let's not allow this to be used against us. And that's all I really have to say. Have a blessed day. I love you. Thank you for being here.